pod is just a pod. But a podcast is...
The pod.
The pod!
Gotcha.
You gotta do it with your thumbs like this. David is recording! Dave!
Welcome to
I'm screaming into your microphone!
So this is our second episode of Pizza and Parsecs. I'm Dave.
I'm Liv.
And this is our Us podcast. So if this is your first time joining us, we are an engaged couple that enjoys talking about and exploring things that we love. Things like geek culture, entertainment, video games, cosplay, fitness, like dance, which we're going to talk about today. And of course, each other. So it has been 1 week since we recorded our first show. And for that show, we didn't exactly have a plan. Making a podcast was something that we've talked about before, and I believe it was the night before we decided to finally execute on it. So we recorded stuff and had a blast doing it. And after recording it, I threw on some nerdy royalty-free theme music and with great haste pushed this underdeveloped baby bird out of the nest and into the most dangerous place in the world, the internet. Truly a wretched hive of scum and villainy, obnoxious hashtags, and opinions. So, like I said, this is our Us podcast. It's just something fun that we wanted to do together and share the experience with folks that are close to us. And our hope is that you enjoy it too. Now, with that intro out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to my smoke show of a fiance.
So we have a guest. You want to introduce yourself, guest?
Hi, my name is Mel.
Mel Brooks.
Yep. I'm undercover.
I'm
Melinda. I'm Melinda.
Oh, you're going to put your full name out there.
No, just cut that out. I'm Melinda.
It's fine.
No, it's okay. He can bleep it out if he needs to. I've heard people do that on podcasts when they say names. They just go bleep.
We'll fix it in post.
There you go. Cody says stuff like that all the time.
So, Melinda, how do we know each other?
We dance together.
Yeah, okay.
And that's pretty much it.
And that's what we're going to be talking about on this podcast.
We are dancers.
We're dancers.
Not those kind of dancers.
No.
Please specify.
What kind of dancers?
We're not strippers.
You're not a stripper?
Nope. Are you?
No. I'm too short.
I'm too tall.
So otherwise you girls
tall
would
and
be
Olivia's
strippers
short.
is what you're getting at here.
That's Cody, if you didn't already know. Let's talk about dance. David, do you have any fun questions for us yet?
How did y'all meet initially? Tell me about that very first interaction that y'all had.
I taught her Innocence Not Lost.
That's true.
That was probably awful.
No, it's cool.
It's a piece originally choreographed by Randall Flynn in Houston. He is the director of AJM Dance Company. Did not cuss, I promise. It's AJM. Southern accent there. But it's a piece about human trafficking.
We like to dance about sad things.
It's not all dancers dance about sad things.
Not all.
So I set Innocence on Refuge back in 2016? 17?
I wasn't even graduated from college.
17?
16. It was 17. It was
17.
December of 2017.
Yeah, I'd come out there in June,
Yeah.
but you
weren't there yet.
Mm-hmm. And I had set it on them, and then we performed it, and then I came back out to clean it and reset it on you, and then 4 other individuals. And I set it in one night, and that was the first time we met.
It was fun, yeah.
It was very fun.
Yeah.
And then after that, I thought you didn't like me. Not gonna lie, I didn't think you liked me.
Aww.
Did you like her?
Yeah, no, I liked her. I thought she was cool.
You're just
I don't know why
that.
she didn't. No, I don't know why she didn't think I would like her. Because I like.
Because I was really harsh during that rehearsal.
I know, but I like that. Just like I like throwing my body on the ground, and
You do
everyone
like
else
throwing
doesn't.
your body on the ground.
Yeah, so
Explain.
I just like throwing myself around on the ground. I don't know how else.
You're a
to put
modern
it.
dancer.
I'm a modern dancer, and apparently.
Just come watch her piece. The first minute and a
watch.
half is her throwing herself on the ground.
Yeah, I choreographed a piece recently, and that's pretty much the first minute and a half is literally me throwing myself on the ground.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. I get really committed to it. not everyone really just commits to actually throwing themselves on
Yeah,
the ground.
like-
they're very graceful, but like I'm not graceful, but I'm just gonna throw my body on the
Today I
ground.
thought you genuinely like smashed your face in because
Yeah, wasn't that good?
I was
good, right?
I was terrified for you.
good,
She
right?
goes at Lee like
I've been working on that.
going at her, and all of a sudden she's like falling face first into the ground and hits the ground, and it was like
I didn't hit my face though.
Aaron and I were like, did she just like bust her chin open again?
No,
That's
I've
good.
been working on that. It's really
That's good.
cool. Yeah, thank you.
It's-
I'm glad
it was
it
scary.
read well, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I keep waiting for Lee to just clock one on your face, bro. Just cause
Even if she did, I'd be committed to the art, and I would go with it. Just take the piece in a different direction, because that's modern art. Yeah, that's actually the thing I feel like people don't understand when they like ask, oh, what kind of dance do you do? And then you're like, I do modern dance. They have no idea what modern dance is, and then I try to tell them what it is, and it just doesn't really like, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense. I'm like, well, we're barefoot. Well, we do some floor work. And they just, okay, you're right, sure, I'm a ballerina. Okay. Like, you just kind of give up because...
So they just kind of generalize it?
Yeah. Nobody really knows exactly what it is. It's either like you're a music video dancer or you're like a ballet dancer. Nobody really actually,
right.
outside of the dance world, knows
You're either
what
Britney
modern
Spears
is.
or Misty Copeland.
Yeah, exactly. So...
You're welcome.
I guess, yeah, throwing yourself on the ground is how I would describe my modern dance.
Where does Missy Elliott fall into that spectrum?
She's on her own spectrum. You got Britney Spears to Misty Copeland, and then Missy Elliott is on her own wavelength.
As she should be.
Yes, that's why I answered it that way.
So, what are some of your pet peeves when people talk about dance, besides the gross
I thought
generalizations?
I thought you were gonna ask us what are some of our pet peeves with each other. I was like, she's too tall, too short. No, pet peeves about dancing.
I don't like when people ask me what I do and I say I'm a dancer and then they try to make a joke about stripping, because that's definitely happened
constant.
Lots of times. Literally on my honeymoon that happened. We met someone like in the pool on our honeymoon.
Well, that was reversed though. She said that she was a dancer.
Yeah, I actually
and
did meet a stripper.
She ended up being a stripper.
No, but there's a guy that asked me.
Oh, a guy that asked.
Like,
Oh, the guy made the.
dancer?
Okay, yeah.
And you're like, no, like,
yeah,
really? Like, why is that the
Yeah.
first thing that pops into your head? That's kind of annoying. And
Had
then
that
I don't...
happen at a Japanese restaurant. Our hibachi chef was like, oh, are you in school still? I was like, no, I'm a dancer in front of my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my brothers, and a family I didn't even had no idea who they were. He's like, oh, you're a stripper. And my dad, it's like, yeah.
Oh!
I was like, Dad. He's like, no, she dances she's a professional dancer. He's like, oh, you're a stripper. And then kept giving me more food and extra food. It was really
Bizarre.
uncomfortable. I didn't like it.
Yeah,
Especially in front of my parents. I'm not a stripper. Do not raise your eyebrows at me.
I did.
I saw the little... This hibachi chef, though, was it was just an overall uncomfortable experience. Anyway, what's another pet peeve?
Well,
I hate when people try to dance and
yeah, or when you say you're a dancer and they're like, oh, can you teach me to dance? Like, that's happened to me on a few dates, or like a few guys I would talk to. They'd be like, so what do you do? And then you say you're a dancer, and then they either make the stripper joke or they say, oh, so can you teach me how to dance? It's like, no, that's what I do 6 days a week. I don't want to come teach you to dance if we're gonna go on a date. That's annoying. And the other thing for me is, because I have a degree in dance, people will find that out, or when I was in college especially, they were like, so what's your major? And then you say your dance major, and they're like, oh, so what are you gonna do with that? And then they would find out, if they found out I had a business major, they'd be like, oh, I have a business minor. They were like, oh, that's smart. And it's like, well, actually, no, I'm getting the business minor because it's gonna help me, I'm gonna pair it with the dance. It's not because that's my backup plan. Yeah, and they think that, they're like, oh, so are you gonna be a teacher? Oh, so you're, what are you gonna do with that? And if they even care enough to ask, and then you have to explain to them, there's actually a lot of different avenues you can take other than just performing, and still use your dance degree. And it's just like, if you say you have a degree in the arts, people are just gonna say, oh, so what are you gonna do with that? Or they're just gonna, or they say, oh, that's nice, and they don't even like ask to try and educate themselves. That's kind of annoying.
So trying to educate myself, what can you do with a dance degree with a business minor?
Well, you could, a lot of people, what they do is they run a studio, which originally when I went to college, that's what I wanted to do. Was I figured eventually one day I would want to open my own studio. But then once I got to, we had to do like teaching labs and pedagogy classes. And once I got to doing those, and then I was actually working with kids and teaching, I realized that I actually really have a passion for teenagers and teaching and training dancers. So that's what I ended up doing. And then also I still wanted to perform, so I'm still performing because dancing doesn't actually pay the bills, but teaching does. So it's a really good mix. But for other people with dance majors, the school I went to, which is Brunel University, they actually have a lot of, they're really good about, it's a small school, so they work with you and they talk to you about like what different paths you can take. So there are people with double majors, there are people, there's actually, they have a lot of people who I think now are doing the school has a really good occupational therapy and like physical therapy program, and so some people now they have a special track like for dance majors to go on to occupational therapy and physical therapy so that they can use that to help dancers. Some people go on to choreography. Another thing we learn in college is we learn all the backstage elements of dance and actually putting together a show. So some people, maybe they aren't gonna ever be on a high enough level to dance professionally, but they love it and they want to be a part of the arts. Maybe they're gonna learn to produce a show and do the behind the scenes stuff, and we learned that in college. Oh yeah, and then there's also that you can kind of also pair with business is working like within an arts organization, organizing stuff, like administrative kind of roles, because again, like maybe you really love dance, you end up not being able to perform it, but then you end up getting to help in an administrative role. Or even, like I said, professional dance doesn't, unless you're with a really big company, isn't going to pay the bills, so you could still be performing. I know a lot of artists that are performing, but also doing administrative roles. A lot of people, I'm doing social media, a lot of people end up doing, like, that's one of their jobs is they're running social media, but they're also dancing. So there's a lot of different, like, avenues you can take, and people don't realize it until they ask, and it's like you have to be driven, and you have to be willing to put in the work, but
not drop out of college.
Don't drop out of college. Yeah.
May or may not have done that. I'm successful and don't have a degree. It's fine.
She is successful and she doesn't have a degree, which says you don't always need a degree. But sometimes that's one thing that me and my husband talk about a lot, is because for a lot of things, you don't need a degree. But for me, I needed it because I needed more training. I know that I would not be the teacher I am now. I wouldn't have had that training either. I know I wouldn't, have learned how to choreograph. So, like, I really did need the training to get where I am now, whereas Olivia didn't need that. She ended up going and dancing professionally and then kind of got her experience and kind of just learned as she went.
A little bit from college.
Yeah, she was in college for a little bit, so it just goes to show you it's when you left. Yeah.
I said bye, Felicia.
So it's just,
Yeah, I'd say that's something.
It's a different path for everybody.
Yeah, that's pretty common in the arts.
Talk down people just because they did get their dance degree. Because
or the other way around.
I would not be who I am or where I am without my degree from Brunel. Like, without a doubt, would not be.
That's a pet peeve I have is the professional dancers who sit back and say, oh, if you went to college for dance, then you're lesser than if you went straight into a trainee program.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, I did both.
Yeah, and there's just different.
Did a trainee program for 1 year and then was the associate director of that company for a year and a half. Like, no degree required.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to the arts, it's definitely case by case. I mean,
Yes.
I'm in production, and school doesn't generally help that much in the production industry and video and broadcast and that sort of thing, because you can get a lot further with just hands-on work experience. But like the teaching, the stuff that you kind of have to learn behind the scenes for teaching, like I could definitely see how actually getting trained on that in particular is something it's more helpful to get in a schooling setting than hands-on. You know, you don't want to throw, generally speaking, like I could see how it'd be pretty problematic if you throw a teacher into a scenario where they're supposed to be teaching other people things and they don't know quite what they're doing yet.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that was me though. That was when I started teaching. Was I was thrown into just modern, teach modern classes.
Oh, that's so scary.
And I mean, I've been teaching. I taught babies when I was younger. I would assist classes, so I knew like the general construction of a class. But my very first solo class that I ever taught was a modern class, and I had to learn as I went. And now I'm on track for getting certified in Limon, and I have people who trust me with their students to teach a structured based modern class, but I didn't learn that from college. Yeah. I learned that by actually going headfirst into the cold.
Well, that's actually another like pet peeve I have about just like
you opened a can of worms.
Other dance degrees. Like
other dance degrees?
Not like other dance departments, like other schools. Not every dance program is Brunel. Let's just make this a little advertisement for the Brunel University Department of Dance, because I can talk about Brunel all day long. That is one of the best schools in Georgia. The best school in Georgia. We'll just say that's the best school in Georgia you can go for a dance degree, because it's well-rounded. It's not just like, oh, you're really good, so we're gonna cast you and stuff. They take, if you're good, you get cast, and they even will give opportunity to people who sometimes need a little bit more training, but they're going to give them a little bit of experience. But again, like I said, we were learning behind the scenes elements, and that wasn't just for the people that didn't get cast. I know some other programs, if you don't get cast, you're just working backstage. But at Brunel, everyone has to learn backstage. Everyone has required choreography classes we're taking. Everyone learns pedagogy. Everyone learns how to be a teacher if you want your BA in dance. And not all other programs focus on teaching you to be a teacher. And so that really bothers me, because if you are paying this money for all of this, like, it should be for something more than just, I'm going to go perform.
Right.
Because unless you just really do want some more training, then yeah, I guess you should. If you're going to perform, you can go perform. But if you want something more after performing or while you're performing, that's where, like, my degree comes into play. And that's why my school is the best school.
And I think that's why I had an issue with the school that I went to. They were in this transition period of, we have 90 students when I first got there. We have 90 people in our department. Max. That was it. And then by the time I was a junior, which was, when right after I had one more year and I dropped out before I had one more year. But by that point, it was 190 students. So the focus was no longer how can we invest in these 90 students. It was how big can we make this department, and how much better can we make this department than any other school in the state. Yes. And it was,
and then it's just about recruiting the best dancers. It's not about actually training professionals for the field and teaching them how to make the dance world better and good and do their thing and be successful. Right. It's not training people to be successful, which that is not what college is supposed to be for.
Right. So. And that was one of the main reasons there were multiple reasons why I left school. I didn't drop out. I made one more year. Well, if I had gone my senior year, I would not have gone to New York, because the same weekend I went to New York and auditioned for AJM was the exact same weekend as the senior project weekend. So I would not have auditioned for AJM, would have never gone to Houston for 3 years, would not be able to say I was an associate director of a company for 2 years. I auditioned. We
still could have been friends.
I auditioned for the place we danced for before I auditioned for AJM. Oh. But if I had not done that, I wouldn't go to Houston. I wouldn't have gone to Houston the time that I actually went. Oh. and would not have used that experience to actually get where I'm at today.
Yeah, and honestly, things would be so much different if you had it.
And I wouldn't be
it wouldn't be how it is now. Just like if I didn't go to college,
exactly.
I wouldn't be who I was.
You credit Burnell for who you are today as a dance teacher and dancer. As crazy as Audeum was, and as many horror stories as I have about Houston, I would not be the dancer I am today if it was not for that experience. And I don't think I'd be the choreographer I am today if it wasn't for the experience and learning what to do and what not to do, and what was acceptable and what's unacceptable. And what I believe in and what I don't believe in. I could go on and on and on. Good That's a pet peeve of mine too, is people being two-faced. Anyway.
Talking about
totally off topic. Not really. Do you have another question?
A la carte.
I was kind of hoping y'all would also just chat about it, you know?
What about dance do you want to chat about?
I don't even know. I feel like my whole life is dance. It's hard to think of things. Ask questions.
We love difficult because we talk about dance quite frequently. We don't know, we
don't know what people want to hear.
Exactly.
What do people care about?
What do non-dancers want to know about dancers' lives?
This is about you and what you're passionate about.
I'm passionate about dancing, but I don't know how to talk about it. I like creating movement.
Y'all were just downstairs for an hour talking about dancing.
You know what's cool about dance? You know what's cool about dance?
What's cool about dance, Mel?
It's
weird calling you that. I know
it was kind of weird. You don't have to do it.
Okay,
I was just trying it out.
Melinda.
Melinda. Shout out to Lee, our other friend. We miss her.
She's gonna be here tonight. It's fun.
Next time. What's cool about dance is that you can say whatever you want to say without words.
What you wanna say.
You can talk through movements, and I just think that that's so cool, and that's what it's all about. And I talk to my teenage class, my advanced modern class, my students about that all the time. I don't know. That's always just been kind of my personal artistic statement, has been that's why I dance, is because I can say anything I want to say without having to use any words. And I think that that's just a universal language. You don't have to speak the same language as me to be able to understand what maybe I'm trying to say to you through my movement. And then the other thing that's really cool about it is, yes, when I choreograph my movement, I'm trying to tell you a story and I'm trying to give you a certain idea or feeling. But then within that, I hope that you can resonate with it or have some memory or some, feeling that's personal with you, that you can kind of connect with it. And I just think that's so special and so, I don't know. I feel like it's better than talking with words. Because I guess talking's cool, but I don't know, it just feels so much more special through dance. And I feel like I can say more through dance. Because when people talk, they argue, you can get in fights, but through dance, you can really, I feel get a point across if you're trying to get a point across. And really, you can really touch people through dance. And so it's just really special.
Can I rant about something?
Rant! Just pouring
You
my
know what
heart
I
out.
really hate about certain things, dance related, is this postmodern crap where they just tape themselves to the wall and call it dance.
But what is dance?
Not taping yourself to a wall.
Merce Cunningham
being
sat at a
naked.
piano for
Don't
4
care.
minutes.
Not
and
dancing.
That was dance.
That's not dancing. That's sitting at a piano doing
Shout out to
nothing.
Professor Green for teaching me that.
No offense.
Hold up. Go.
What is dance? That's the question. That is the question of postmodern. What is dance? Dance can be anything. Dance can be stillness. Dance can be eating a sandwich in the center of the stage.
No.
It can be, what is it? We don't know.
No.
We don't know what it is.
Eating sandwiches in the middle of the stage.
It could be. We don't know.
I know.
Maybe you're
not
standing in an arabesque while you eat the sandwich. A gluten-free sandwich. I'm gluten-free now.
Poor life choice.
Not that you care.
I will not go and pay money to go and watch someone stand in an arabesque and eat a sandwich.
Well, that's
This
your
is just a
prerogative.
memory that just popped into my head. I just had a whole debate with another individual 3 days ago because I saw on Instagram somebody post this video of themselves pouring sugar in an art museum and called it postmodern dance.
Well, what is dance though?
It's not pouring sugar.
But where's the line? How do we know what
The
dance
line is pouring sugar.
So it's specifically pouring sugar.
No, it's
If it were salt, gluten-free flour, perhaps.
no. That's not dance.
Just saying.
I don't.
Well, where's the line though?
The line is a technique behind it.
But listen, if you think about it, at one time,
You let me go.
at
You let
one
me have
time
it.
there was just ballet.
Yes.
And then Isadora Duncan was like, screw that. I'm gonna...
Martha Graham started it first, told me. I'm just kidding.
No, Duncan. Duncan.
Graham.
Duncan.
Are we gonna fight?
Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season.
Yeah, Duncan.
We gotta cut that out. Just kidding.
Duncan was... Okay,
We're
anyways.
gonna cut that out,
The
please.
point is, they rebelled against ballet, and it was like a big deal, a big thing. It was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Their feet are turned in. What are they doing? And it was like this weird thing. And at that time, people were like, this isn't dance. Like when people saw Afternoon of the Fawn, they were leaving the theaters and just totally repulsed by it. And
Duncan did Fawn?
no, I'm just using another
I was
example
about
now.
to say.
I'm just using examples of when something different was shown to people,
It
and
was
they
boot, yes.
and they were like, gross, this is horrible, but then that became dance, and then we kept pushing it, and this is so it's like, where do you draw the line? Because if you keep drawing the line and saying this is dance, it has to have this codified technique behind it, then how do we ever push the boundaries? And modern would have never been created.
Okay,
and we
yes.
love modern.
Yes, but let's dig a little deeper.
I'm not saying I want to watch someone pour sugar in a jar.
But
I'm not going to dismiss and
I'm
say
dismissing
that's
it.
not dance.
Personally going
I'm
to
gonna
dismiss
let
it.
them
This
make
was
their
it.
art and let them live their
And say it's not
best
dance.
sugary lives.
Because there's a difference between
Yum.
performance art and dancing. There is a clear
Okay, I
difference
can see
between
that.
performance art being, I'm going to pour sugar for 30 minutes into a jar. Or I'm going to tape myself to the wall, be partially naked,
Ooh.
or just stand around
did
and
that?
spin on this like weird thing. Like that's
Or
performance
sit at a
art.
piano.
Or that's performance art. That is
Eat a sandwich in an
visual
arabesque.
art. Who'd pay for that?
Someone
Nobody?
will. People like what they like.
They
I don't
pay
know.
for that in New York.
Exactly.
That's
There's
it.
somewhere for it. Some people like what they like. It doesn't have to be us. But hey,
It's not me.
if it doesn't cost my tax dollars, I don't care what you're doing with your life.
But if it did cost your tax dollars.
Oh, that would trigger me a little bit.
your
That's
hard
a
earned.
different conversation.
But let me ask you this, because this is the question I've been posing between performance art and what we do. We have a show coming up. We've put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this show. You've created a concept that is culturally, seen as a necessity right now. I have done the exact same thing.
Good for us.
High five. So that clap was probably really loud. So why are we having an issue selling out our shows when these performance art where it's half naked, if not fully naked people taped to a wall is selling out in New York?
People like what they like. I don't know.
Why?
I guess, New York is a different audience than what we have here.
Okay, well, let's
Also.
look at the things that are done in Atlanta. No offense, but I don't like half the crap that's being shown in Atlanta. I don't know if Glow ATL's a thing, but not a big fan. I've performed with them. I'm not a big fan of it.
But some people are a fan of it.
Okay.
So, they should be free to make their art and do their thing and
Agreed.
dance around and
Should be
twirl
free.
around, and we can do our thing. And then that's what's good about having two different kinds of companies, and that's what makes us different and makes us special as a company, is that we look different and we have a different purpose behind our movement, and that's what sets us apart. And then, dance for dance sake, that also has its place. Because if there were no dance for dance sake, or there were no, people pouring sugar in a jar, then we would just be totally regular normal.
Yeah.
Who cares? We're just another dance company. But since there's so many different kinds of art and so many different kinds of styles of dance and dance companies, then we can be our own individual thing and they can be their own individual thing, and we can all love each other and,
I agree with you. I was just steering the conversation in a particular
Jeez.
area to make content. I've been doing this for a while.
Jeez. We love dance.
I don't like performance art when it's pouring sugar into a jar, though. I think it's stupid.
I
Anyway,
think if you
do you have any more questions?
poured sugar into a jar in the right way, I think it could be really entertaining.
But what's the purpose?
I don't know.
What are you trying to prove?
Listen, I went to a liberal
Fill
arts college. I will
the
find a purpose.
jar.
I will find a purpose, and I will write an MLA style paper on it.
Please do that.
10 pages.
Please do that.
I was born for this.
I want to quickly chime in about what I think about this pouring sugar in a jar thing.
It's
I think
stupid.
yes, it's stupid. I agree that it's stupid. But here's the thing: is
But
like, it's
some
okay.
people think what we do is stupid. My
No,
dad doesn't
okay,
like dance.
let's say
That's
that-
okay. You know what? And I'm okay if someone comes to me and says, you know what, really thought your piece was stupid. Be like, you know what? Opinions are subjective.
So our opinion is subjective if we don't like pouring sugar
Exactly.
in a jar.
So if I sit here and say I don't really care for what Glow ATL is doing as far as their take on Ohad Naharin's Gaga technique, that's my opinion. If
Yeah.
they take offense to that, that is their
true.
prerogative to be offended
that's-
by my statement. I am one person.
And that dives into the philosophical question of
Gaga
what
is a
is
fun time,
good.
though.
Like, is there an objective measurement of what is good?
gosh.
Like, no,
It's like we're all back in college.
I mean, like, if 90% of people out there see something and say, that was stupid, then that's, you know, in my opinion, I think that would be objectively bad art. If, like, 90% of the population looks at something and they all say in unison without having to have conversation with each other, that's dumb.
I'm going to make
You
a very
know-
controversial statement here.
Yes.
Rogue One.
Oh.
I love you, David.
I'm not getting in the middle of that.
I'm kidding.
You know what my dad told me the other day?
I didn't like Rogue One, but that's okay. It's my opinion.
I liked Rogue One. My dad told me the other day that
Like Rogue One.
if you make good art, people will come and people will buy your stuff and you'll make money off
Yeah.
of it. And he said if you're not making money off of it, it's not good art. And I was like,
But-
no.
I'm not making money off of my art.
I'm not either.
I-
But I think it's good art.
Yeah.
I feel really good about my
Oh,
17-minute piece I just created. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's good.
Well,
I was
that's
talking about my actual art.
Your actual art.
Just kidding.
well, that brings in marketing there too and stuff like that. Like, if nobody sees your piece, does that make it bad? No, of course
No,
not.
that
just means like that's the thing about the person
That's all
pouring sugar
subjective.
in a bowl or whatever. Like, they're producing controversy by doing something absolutely stupid, and it captures people's attention. You know why we're talking about it here, and they now have people.
I'm now mad.
Yeah, I triggered you. But now they have people talking about their art. That doesn't mean that it's good, though. That just means a lot of people are now looking at dance and thinking dance is dumber than it was 5 minutes ago, for the most part, you know? So that's really the thing is, like, I don't... if you're in a field of art and people are doing really dumb stuff, you just need to call out that it's dumb. Because when you call it that it's dumb, it's going to resonate with the people that can objectively see that's stupid.
But don't
So they
do
don't
that
feel
if
like
it's
they're
going
being
to
gaslit.
cost you a job.
Sure, yeah, of course, at your own
I would-
discretion.
I would say, like, in that particular context, like, if I was in a position where I felt like I was hired for a job and I thought it was, you know, dumb, and I
Yeah.
vocalized that,
Yeah,
I
that's...
could potentially lose said job.
I'm talking
Yeah.
That would
specifically
be
about the
bad,
sugar
bad
case sort of
choice.
thing, though. Because, yeah, in your own studio, of course, you need
Pour
in
some
people
sugar
that
in a
are
jar
on your
and
network.
mix it
Can I
up.
just change my whole piece?
Just
Instead of
me
grooming,
pouring.
can it just be...
Can it be gluten-free flour?
No, I'm going to
I
do
wanna
sweet
pour-
and salty. One bag of salt and one bag of sweet.
That would actually be groundbreaking and would be a great message.
It's going to be that.
Speaking of messages,
Yes.
and Belinda, earlier you talked about like the power of dance and being able to like, you know, communicate a particular message that resonates with people. Can you talk a
Okay.
little bit about when the first time that you saw a piece that really resonated with you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Minus 16.
Oh, minus 16.
Minus 16.
What does that mean?
No, I think that might be mine too.
that-
To
Don't
be
steal
honest.
my answer. I'm just
No,
kidding.
I'm really not. Wait, let me
Well-
think about it for a minute.
Hold on. So while you think about that, let me frame this up a little bit more. So what was it, and what was the message, and why did it resonate with you?
Minus 16, there's not a huge, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's not, like, a pinpoint purpose behind this dance. It's kind of up to the audience member because it was created by Ohad Naharin, who, in my opinion,
So good.
he's just an amazing, like, I don't like...
Oh, brilliant.
And I've stated this before, I don't like the branches of Gaga technique.
His Gaga's really...
His is
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah. Amazing.
Galeen
Amazing.
in New York, it's under Ashley What's-Her-Face? Galeen. They are a branch, like, directly, like, from Ohad. Like, alone. It's not this, you know, abstract change. But minus 16 is, like, the epitome of conforming to society.
Where did you see this, by the way?
I saw this, the first time I saw this was on a video when he first released the full dance on YouTube, which was back in, like, 2000, and I think it was between 2010 and 2013 because I was in college. And then Atlanta Ballet did it.
They did it a few years back.
A few years ago. He actually
maybe 2-3
came
years.
out here.
Yeah, 3
He
years, I
actually
think.
came out here and said it. And it has 16 dancers.
4
and
years,
it's a
maybe.
progressional. It's a progressional piece. Like you've got 16 people who one person does a movement, they do the movement, the next
They
person
all
continue.
fall, yeah.
And it's like
And then
Like a
that's where they
domino.
slowly take their
They
like
start
suit. They
taking-
take their suit
yes.
jackets off, and then their they take their pants off. And then
some
their
of them
shirt.
do.
They
Yeah.
take off their like dress shirt. Oh, they start with like fedora hats on.
Yeah.
Right? They take off their hat. It's really
It's
cool.
so
it's really
good.
really powerful.
And they like, I mean, so in each individual has like a moment where they kind of change the choreography. So you get somebody who instead of following suit, he stands in a chair. Or you have someone when they throw themselves back, he falls to the floor. It's so good. And when I saw Tara Lee before she danced with Terminus do that
yeah,
piece,
she's so good.
oh my goodness, Tara Lee is hands down my favorite performer on the planet. She is the best. And she's short.
really good.
That's probably why I
She's
love her
tiny.
so much. She's so small. But watching Tara Lee do this piece and look as tall as like John
Yeah.
Walker, it was just, oh my gosh.
Yeah. For me,
You can say the same, it's fine. But minus
No,
16 is like
because-
the best piece out there right now.
but I don't think like I really liked that one. But I don't think that's what made me think like this is why I want to tell stories. For me, like I don't think it was necessarily that I saw something that like inspired me, because growing up, well, I started dancing when I was 13, and I was very much a bunhead. And so I saw like ballets, and I absolutely loved ballet and was obsessed with it. And then when I got to college, that's when I really got into modern. And I got to college, and we were doing like Cunningham stuff, and there's not really a story with that. And then, you know, we would get different guest choreographers and we would do different stuff. But then it wasn't until I got to composition class, and we would have different composition prompts that were kind of guiding you, like choose an art piece and then you make a little prompt about it, or choose some sort of feeling or some sort of story or some sort of sentence, poem, whatever. And then it was then from that, like my very first like composition piece that I choreographed was my own story about something. So it was almost like a therapeutic thing, was that I could, because another thing about me is growing up, I wrote a lot of little like short stories and stuff. So I always, I guess, have been really good with words, not like speaking per se, but writing them. So I really enjoy writing stories. So then dancing just kind of was like 2.0 of that. So just being able to make dances about the stories and the stuff that's inside of me. And then from there, like it just kept growing in college. Like I remember my first show that I, like full-length show that I choreographed for in college. It was like all the juniors did for it, and my grandparents had both just passed away, and I did one about the 5 stages of grief. And I also had a solo that year, and it was junior year, and it was so hard, and I was so tired. So I had a piece about, my solo was about just being utterly exhausted and stressed out. And then I did another one. My senior thesis actually was one of my favorite books, all-time favorite books, The Book Thief. and it's called The Word Shaker, and it was literally about the power of words and how our words can change people. But I was saying all of it without words and doing it through movement, so it was almost just like, it wasn't necessarily that I saw something and I was like, oh, this has the power, like I can do that too, and I can create movement and tell stories. It was just, I feel like it was just, I had all this stuff to say inside of me, and I'm not really very extroverted. I don't really like to talk and public speak. And so I think dancing and creating was a way to just get all of it out and just create and make stuff. And that's what I've been doing since then. So I think that was more where it stemmed from for me, was just wanting to tell stories and communicate stuff. But -16 was definitely like seeing that. And then I will say, when I saw Stave Dance for the first time,
Okay.
that was the other one, like when I saw them, just the style of movement they were doing, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be a modern dancer, because this is really cool, because just how like their emotions and how raw they were, and just the intent they were putting in behind, because the movement was very, very abstract. But even though it was so abstract, you could just feel what their intent was behind the movement, and it was just driving it. So even though I didn't necessarily know the story, I could feel what they were feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so powerful. I was like, this is exactly what I need to be doing. Like, this is... So I think I saw Stave Dance first, and then I saw -16, and I was like, oh.
That's how I feel when I see Lamone dancing. Like, any Lamone, Jose Lamone company member performing any Lamone piece. Like, I remember the first time I saw a true, Jose Lamone choreograph this piece live. I was like, I want to do that.
So cool. Yeah, it just feels like home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does he ever get help? And if he does, is it called lemonade?
Ha ha ha.
Non-dancer jokes about dance.
Clever, but also stabbed me a little bit right here. I guess that's for the Rogue One comment earlier.
You have more coming.
Joy.
That was really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. But that was awesome.
Wow, I'm doing well.
You are.
My first time on a podcast. Never done this.
It's just people talking.
We're just talking over a microphone.
So, for both of you, what message is important to you right now? Like, what messages are you trying to say right now?
Ooh.
Go for it, and then I'll go, because I already know what I'm going to say.
Well, I think you already know what I'm going to say.
I know. You already know what I'm going to say.
I know exactly what
we're
you're
in
going
each other's
to say.
heads. Because we're in each other's
We're
pieces.
just dancing each other's
We
pieces.
dance for each other.
Yeah,
And this can
and
be-
with each other.
And-
You raise.
I literally lift her off the ground.
You literally pick me up like multiple times.
She's tiny. Olivia's tiny. Just for the record.
Appreciate that.
So,
Anyway.
I'm large.
to be clear on my question, this doesn't necessarily have to be a piece that you're actually doing right
okay,
now.
just what we're specific.
It could be like a piece that you're planning for in the future.
I got
It
you.
could be what you're working on
Just
now.
in general.
Yeah, just in general.
So I have
Well-
2 answers, though.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I have
Just-
one extended answer.
Okay.
Extend that answer.
I'm going to extend that answer.
Talk closer to the mic.
You know what? Don't tell me how to run a podcast.
I'm a professional. I've done this half of the time now.
I personally am in this huge journey in dance with finding self-love and, showing love outwardly. I have a not finished project in the back burner right now that is coming
Breaking news.
up eventually, because our director keeps telling me I need to do something with it.
Oh, I know what this is. Never mind.
You
It's
know
not
exactly
It's
which
not
one that
breaking
is.
news. I mean, it's breaking news for you guys on the pod, but I know what it is.
You know what it is, because you're going to be in it.
VIP. I'm already cast.
Yeah. But it's this piece about, like, the concept of falling in love and what does that look like? And it doesn't have to be between person to person. It can actually be, like, how do we fall in love with ourselves? How do we fall in love with our job? How do we fall in love with our, our faith and our religion? Like, all of these different ways of falling in love. But I don't know how to finish this piece. And then I felt like it was really necessary for this Connect concert to take 6 steps back and say, all right, we can't really fall in love until we kind of identify issues within ourselves. Well, what's a big issue that is kind of going on in ourselves or in society? And I was like, all right, we've got this one, and kind of like listing them off. And one of the things that I'm massively passionate about is working alongside of organizations that fight against human trafficking. It's just one of those things that I'm very, very passionate about. And so I created a piece about the grooming aspect of it, not just the grab and snatch that were kind of the media and movies have kind of portrayed as the big issue, but the smaller issue that has become like the big issue is grooming. You know, how does social media portray sex? How are children being told that this is okay by their parents, by their schoolmates, by, you know, a predator? What kind of secrets are they holding inside of them that causes them to run away from their safe place, being their home, into the arms of a groomed predator who knows exactly how to accommodate to these children who are already like having issues? And that's kind of led into, you know, partnering with different organizations and having opportunities coming up in the future to actually be a part of a potential new organization here on the south side of Atlanta that could possibly be a home for women and their children. And getting, you know, going back to school and becoming a psychologist kind of drives that, wanting to work with these people. So speaking out on that, and then maybe, I'm hoping, going through this, how can one educate themselves in the grooming aspect? How does that lead to self-love, and how can that finish my future falling in love piece? Or maybe we're just supposed to get married first, and then I finish the piece. I guess that's just...
Maybe that will hit you with inspiration.
Maybe that will hit me with... Because I don't know what the second half is supposed to be.
Down the aisle.
Stop the wedding! I have it! I need 5 minutes. Okay, will you marry me now?
I will drop my bouquet and I'll just say, okay, let's do this piece. I'm ready.
Let's just dance it now.
I'm here.
So if I
have my
asked you
shorts
guys
on
to
under
do
my
this
dress.
at the wedding...
I'm ready. I don't even care.
You and Catherine and Lee, because she's an honorary bridesmaid.
Sure, okay. We'll just go for it.
You'll just dance it down the aisle?
You know, whatever.
Okay, dope.
Whatever you want at your wedding, you're the bride. You're the bride.
You asked your students to dance.
That's true, and they did beautifully. And it was
it's not like I'm asking you to dance the second half of the party.
It was their favorite, time.
Yeah.
It was their favorite time ever, I think. It was precious. It's precious little souls.
It was precious.
Yeah.
I'm not having my students dance.
It's okay.
The dancing's going to happen at the ceremony. It's going to be...
There is dancing?
At our wedding?
In the ceremony?
Not the ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
you just said in the ceremony. I was like, well, who's dancing then?
It's literally
Dave?
all dancing. Yeah, he's dancing.
Well, yeah, the
ceremony.
reception.
Yeah, he's going to dance down the aisle.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that?
I dance every
You doing
day.
cartwheels down the aisle.
Or is it performance art? I'm not sure anymore.
Are you pouring sugar or are you dancing?
Yeah,
Are
I'm
you
coming out to pour some
shaking
sugar
your
on
booty?
me.
Pour some sugar on
Oh,
me.
that's perfect. That's good.
In the name of love.
Wait, so the reception's a dance party, right?
Duh.
We're ready.
It's your turn.
Oh. So this is like a double answer because I actually kind of like figured out what I'm saying right now through this piece that I'm working on. So it's like 2 answers, but it's also 1 answer because it all kind of works together. So yeah, as I already told you, I dance and I create art because I have things to say and I want to tell stories without talking.
Put a bumper up here.
And so that being said, I've created recently a piece called Is Enough Enough, and it's basically about eating disorders, but long story short, it's about how you see yourself in the mirror and how, whether you have an eating disorder or not, really, if you're, you know, kind of struggling with loving yourself and body image and how you feel about yourself, what you're seeing in the mirror is probably not accurate to what you actually look like and how other people see you. And so I took that idea and I turned it into a piece. And then from there, I set it on the professional company that I'm dancing with. But then I also took it and I've set a shorter version of it, a little excerpt of it, on my students they're all in between the ages of like 14 and 17, which, you know, if you've ever been, Dave hasn't experienced this, but if you're like a 14 to 17-year-old girl, you've probably experienced not liking yourself and not liking how you look in the mirror, especially if you're in the ballet world, which all of these girls are in. And so through this piece, I've actually opened up a lot of room for conversation with them. And I've just been really honest with them about how I feel about my body and how I felt when I was their age and what I've gone through. And because of that, you know, when I say these things to them, and this is why we're doing this movement with our arm, or this is why we're doing this, explaining the piece, and then kind of explaining the background on it and how I feel, they were in tears and they were like, oh my God, Miss Melinda, that's exactly how we feel. Like, you described it exactly what we feel like, which A, breaks my heart that they would ever even think that they're anything less than absolutely perfect, because every one of them are. And B, it also made me really glad because I was like, oh, I can help them. I am a safe place that they can come talk to. Because, you know, like, even if you have a really good relationship with a parent, you're not going to share everything with a parent. And now they know that I'm someone that they can come to, that I can help them. And I can see through this piece, I am helping at least a few of them who I can tell are, like, struggling with this particular issue. And so through all of that, I've kind of realized, or just kind of been reaffirmed, like, that teaching dance is definitely, like, my purpose in life. But also that through dance and through teaching dance, what I'm really trying to, I guess, say right now, or trying to accomplish, is just to kind of uplift my students and tell them that they're more than what they think they are. And also, more than that, to kind of take the things that I've struggled through in my life and use that to help them to either not make the same mistakes as me, or to just not go down the same paths as me, or to just at least love themselves, like not think of themselves the same way that I've thought of myself. And the fact that I can do that through dance and just through having them in my classroom for 3 hours a week, like that's my purpose on the earth. Like, I love making pretty dance and I love throwing my body on the floor and dancing, but that is my purpose through dance, like, hands down. So that's what I'm trying to help them. So
I think that's a very powerful message, and I'm for both of y'all, I'd say both extremely important. But Melinda, with what you said, that resonates with me a lot too, actually. So
it doesn't just affect girls, yeah.
No, it's not.
I didn't mean to gender stereotype, but
jeez, Melinda.
No, like,
sorry, I don't have experience being a boy, but yeah.
I wish there was something that kind of told dudes that it's okay, like.
Yeah.
In that way, like, especially
they need
in, like,
it too.
in the athletic world, right? Because I ran D1 in college.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, we would get pod tested and get % body fat done and stuff like that.
That
and,
messes with your brain.
Yeah, it's
That's
like,
not good.
If you're, like, at 7% and then you have Kenyans on the team that are down at, like, you know, 4 or 3, you feel like a complete elephant.
Yeah.
Essentially. And it puts it in your head, and that was something that I struggled
with. It doesn't
with.
ever go away from your head. It's always in your head, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's never gonna go away. Yeah. It's just, and that's part of what the piece is about too. Is the ending, like, finale of the piece. It's not so much the, like, we just love ourselves now, like the whole body positivity, just love yourself message that so many people are trying to share. Which, yes, we should share that, and yes, we should love ourselves that much. But the thing is, like, if you've actually, like, gone through something like that and you actually really are, like, in that mindset, at least for me, it doesn't go away. So I don't know about everyone else, but it doesn't go away. So you just learn to live with it, and you just learn to say, okay, like, that's a lie. I know that this is what's going on in my head, but I need to accept that it's a lie, and I'm gonna do better, and I'm gonna have a different thought, or I'm gonna, you know, go talk to my husband and, you know, help him, like, make him you change your response. Yeah, so that's kind of what the piece's like resolution is, because it doesn't really go away. So
I think you do a really good job with this particular piece too, at adapting, because you asked all of us to like identify a location on our body that we weren't comfortable with, and I was like, not trying to sound freaking conceited or anything, but I was like,
she's super hot.
I was like, I've never had that experience. Like, I've never sat there and looked in the mirror and been like, I don't like this.
That's absolutely baffling, but continue.
The only two locations that I like can sit there and say that I really get stuck is my brain and having anxiety and like really being stuck in my own mind, and my teeth. Back when I got my braces off at 18, I was like, I have beaver teeth. They're huge. But you do a great job, because like I sat there and I was like, you were asking us to create movement, and I said, I'm having a really hard time with this, because the thing when I was growing up that I looked at myself in the mirror and was struggling with was, I don't want people to know what's going on inside my brain. I don't want people to know that there's anxiety going on. I don't want people to know that I have a stutter. I don't want people to know that I am not confident in the mental side of myself. I didn't care what people think of me physically, but I thought I really struggled with what people thought of me mentally. And you adapted so well, and you're like, just stand there and do what you would do in the mirror. And now I struggle very, very hard not laughing
at Lee.
At Lee.
Yeah.
But then you also incorporated the teeth thing, where I dance around, put my hands all over the floor, and then put my hands in my mouth, and Lee and I literally make faces at each other.
I know, y'all were laughing today while you did it too.
Oh, we were.
I could hear y'all laughing, and I was like, just play it off as crying, Olivia. If you're gonna laugh on stage, just play it off like you're sobbing, because you sound like a fool.
I do sound like a fool. I just wanted to applaud you on that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what's actually really cool about the piece, is that also the kids are getting to adapt it to what they're insecure about, so they all get to make their own motif, and they get to choose whatever they're insecure about. And I said it could be a body part, or it could be like, you know, if you're not good at math and you're feeling bad about, like, how can you, through movement, give me a motif that shows your insecurity?
Speaking of,
and so then they get to like use it, and then it makes it personal to them. And that's the cool thing about dance to me, is like getting to use it to like tell your own story and kind of like heal from it too. It's like, you know, so it's like, if we can, not that there's not a place for, you know, Cinderella and the Nutcracker and all that stuff, but like the fact that we can take stuff and we can really use it to help people and to change lives and to spread awareness about, like, that's just really cool.
Can we just talk about that there's a possibility that you and I are going to be ugly stepsisters?
Oh yeah, we're also going to be in Cinderella. And we will be ugly stepsisters. I am 5'9", and Olivia's 5'2", and we're both gonna act like goobers and be ugly stepsisters.
I so hope this happens, because it's gonna be so fun. I don't think I've told you this.
It's gonna be pretty embarrassing.
Embarrassing? I cannot wait for this. I thrive on comedy dancing.
Yeah, comedic. We're gonna be comedic.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're serious. Sometimes we talk about eating disorders. Other times we goof around the stage.
We talk about sex trafficking.
But then other times we goof around the stage. It's balance. There's a time and place for all of it. There's a time and place for pouring sugar in a bowl on the stage. Just saying. And full circle.
So before we wrap it up, guys, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about any upcoming shows that you have or events that you want our listener to know about.
Singular.
Cool. So actually earlier in the podcast, both me and Olivia talked about a little bit of the dance works that we're working on currently, and you can actually catch both of those works on March 21st at Refuge Dance Academy Theater in Roswell for the Connect concert, which is a really cool show that we do with Refuge Dance Company, where we take 4 different nonprofits and their causes, and we connect it with a dance piece. After the performance, we have someone from the nonprofit come and speak about what they're doing with their organization, and then it gives the audience a chance to connect with them, find out how they can get involved, find out how they can help, and also just bring awareness to a lot of really great organizations and causes. So March 21st, check it out.
Where can people go to find more information?
Oh, you can follow us on Instagram at Refuge Dance, and then you can also go to refugedance.org and then just click company, and that'll take you straight to our website with all the information.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks, Dave.
So that is Pizza and Parsecs for this week. I'm Dave.
I'm Liv.
Tune in next time, folks. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and other podcasting platforms. Thanks, guys. Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and other podcasting platforms.
Platforms. Gotta love those platforms.
Let's try that again.
Platforms. Brought to you by Flatforms. Forms that are flat, just like the earth. Dumb.
So that is Pizza and Parsecs for this week. I'm Dave.
I'm Liv.
Tune in next time, folks. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and other podcasting I can't say platforms.
All the platforms.
Why can't I say that word?
Platform. Take 3. Here we go.
All right, let's try this again. So that is Pizza and Parsecs for this week. I'm Dave.
I'm Flatforms.
Why do you do this to me?
Because it was funny. Okay, I'm ready for real this time.
So that is Pizza and Parsecs for this week. I'm Dave.
I'm Liv.
Tune in next time, folks. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and other podcasting platforms. Thanks, guys.
Yay, you did it!